Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Colorism Conversation Special with Cece Stinson and Dr. Karen Moore, the two sides of colorism. It is the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. Once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Muhammad Ali. I am in charge of my life. I am improving my life by eliminating the drama within it. I let go of everything and everyone that impedes my progress in life. I do not entertain negative thoughts, feelings, or conversations. I choose to be happy today. I am continually aligned with my higher purpose. I am strong. Welcome back. We are here with the absolutely amazing Cece Stinson, who I had the pleasure of meeting through African American Women in Cinema's Filmmaker series on Clubhouse. And we found out that we have a very, very common passion for talking about and dissecting colorism. So welcome, Cece.
Yes, thank you so much, Karen, for having me on the show. I was really excited about today to have this conversation. I am a local filmmaker here in Austin, Texas. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, primarily producing independent shorts, documentaries, and currently I work for a media company out of Seattle called Cut. And I am doing some interesting, some serious segments, but also some very silly segments as well. So I'm just enjoying this new wave of opportunity that has been presented to female filmmakers.
Yes, and we need to laugh sometimes. You know, we are so serious. And when you start talking about colorism and things like that, they are very serious topics. So it's good to laugh. It's good to have something to make you laugh.
Yes, yes. I really believe that, especially for we as women, need to have a balance.
Yes.
In our lives.
Yes. Yes.
So it helps. It helps.
Yes. So what brought you to this colorism space? What was it that brought you to really wanting to dive in deep? And I know you're a person of numbers and statistics and things like that, which is absolutely amazing because that's the information that we need to know. So what brought you to this space?
Yes. Honestly, Karen, when I stumbled upon this term, colorism, early on in my career in corporate America, and I didn't realize that I was affected by this until fully working in the technology industry, and I'll talk about that link with a lot of my coworkers being of South Asian descent. So when I realized exactly what it was, it triggered some terminology and sayings that I recalled as a child growing up in the inner city of Baltimore, Maryland. Now, growing up in Baltimore, a lot of people don't realize that, first of all, Maryland is a southern state, so I'm still a southern gal. It's just a border state, but we still are entrenched in the deep racial ties that we have here in America. And in addition, growing up in Baltimore, Maryland is predominantly African American majority. So, being surrounded by my peers, I was often singled out because of the color of my skin and my hair texture. I always found that to be quite odd growing up as a child, and remembering, like for instance, my grandmother just praising my looks and feeling the texture of my hair.
Okay.
I did not understand that, and my roots are Texas and Louisiana. And from my family, we actually migrated up to Baltimore. So after getting teased and taunted, I remember this saying called "light, bright, damn near white girl," and I apologize for cursing, but that was the actual terminology.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
That I would hear, and having school children, predominantly females, just say awful things. I was traumatically bullied as a kid for these unknown reasons to me at the time. So when I got into, after having my child and getting into my career, I realized I wanted to look up this definition of colorism, as far as it being interracial discrimination. But I knew, Karen, I knew it couldn't just be, something that came out of the air and was ingrained in the African American culture. I knew that there had to be a foundation. I knew that it wasn't just in the United States, and I wanted to take it upon myself to do research and explore, where did this come from? Where did this start? And why is it still deeply ingrained in individuals? And why does it continue to perpetuate this
Right.
myth that the lighter you are, the fairer your skin tone, the more advantages and privileges that you would have in society? Where did this notion come from? It's deeply ingrained in institutionalized racism. And I want to emphasize that it's not just racism, because this isn't truly about individuals. It's a system of racism that is directly linked to power.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. Exactly.
And it's working very, very well.
Yes, it is. Still.
Yes. To this
Still.
day. Yes.
In 2021, still it's working that way. And I know that so much of my study and my connection with colorism is that it's so important to me that we understand where it came from, and the fact that it was about division, as is racism, as is so many isms are about division. And if you can get a people divided, you know, the saying that says a house divided against itself cannot stand. So if you can divide people of the same ethnic background and give them these ideas that, well, this is better than this within your own race, then the division is there. And the division, as we've even talked about before, when I've talked about the Willie Lynch letter and the fact that he told slave owners that if you divide the slaves based on skin tone and tall or short, fat or skinny, whatever it is, but he went back to skin tone and said that this will be able to be in place for hundreds, if not thousands of years, this division. And so we are still dealing with this issue and still dealing with this division, the house versus the slave, the field. And, still all slaves, but, still there's a better slave than the other slave. And so, we're still dealing with all of this now in 2021.
Yes, and unfortunately, the data does back up the notion that the lighter you are, you have the ability to be afforded better job opportunities, higher pay, mainly because you're just more accepted into the dominant culture. But that's really truly just a perception, because you're never going to be fully accepted. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say never. This is why we're having this conversation, because
Right.
we want to continue to have this conversation and not be silent about it, to inform people of these social biases that continue to this day. And having that understanding in my research, and I can just attribute this to America. If people really, really, truly taught the horrific events that occurred during slave time and understand the repercussions of having a darker hue. I mean, can you imagine most of in slavery times, people were not fed, so you were giving a small portion of food, and even then, after 12, 14-hour days, you had to go home and prepare that food for yourself, sleep in deplorable conditions, on the floor with nothing, versus a child of the master,
Right.
because we were slave, and Black women were continually raped. It was not consensual. I don't know how people could even say, if you're a slave, that it was not rape. It was rape, and we were breeders.
Right.
That's essentially what
Exactly.
it was,
Yes.
because we were stock, and there was value in the stock. So being able to sleep in the house, to have a better living quarters, to have more opportunities to get fed, better clothes, the possibility of being educated. It's that ingrained notion in our ancestors, looking at the plantation, saying, yes, if my child will be afforded a better opportunity, this is the route, this is the avenue, and that stuck, because you were treated better.
Right.
And a lot of the children of the masters, they could get educated.
Hmm.
Of course, when listening to our older relatives discuss and talk about this, I do get a understanding of the why.
Right.
But but corporate America still perpetuates this myth through the media, through television programming,
Yes.
through movies, through especially the beauty ads that are presented to
Yes.
young women, as far as this image of the lighter, the brighter, the straighter your hair, your the features, thin lips, narrow nose, is
Right.
is attributed to being more beautiful. And so to be able to obtain that, this is what I need to do. That's wrong.
Yes, it is. And it's so important. I appreciate the fact that you talked about how it's affecting our girls, because this is the other side of where we need to be looking in regard to colorism, is how is it affecting our children also. It's not just only those of us who had to come up through it and deal with it throughout our own lives, but because it's still so very pervasive, we've got to be concerned about how our girls are being affected and what's it saying to them. And if we are not very proactive about these conversations and about showcasing beauty among all of our different hues, we're going to still have children that grow up feeling less than valuable.
Yes, yes. And that's one, another reason why I was deep into my research is I was looking at my daughter and her attitude towards it. So I'll start with myself, in knowing, because of my experience growing up, I am a black woman that goes to tanning salons.
Wow.
Yes, yes. So because I never truly wanted people to know my true skin tone. So even now, I'm sitting before you. I made sure that I set out in the sun because of COVID. I'm leery of going to tanning salons now, but I made sure to sit out in the sun to even get a deeper hue to appear on this show with you. And it's a conversation I have to have with my peers, as far as why do I still have that notion ingrained in me, as far as making sure that I'm presented in a certain way, and for people to have no doubt or question of my black heritage, because both of my parents are black. Just want to note that
Uh-huh.
both of my parents are black, and I actually had to show pictures to my peers in school to verify that both of my parents are black. How crazy is that? So when I got married, I just wanted to make sure that I was married to a black man who had a wonderful, beautiful melanin skin tone. So when I had my daughter, there would be no question that she's black. I wanted her just to not have to deal with the issues that I dealt with. That um, did did not sit well with my daughter. We really did have to have a conversation, and this is when um, growing up, I want to say when young women start reaching their tweens, maybe 11, 12 years old, they really start realizing the distinction with within their peers. And so, um, yeah, my daughter, she she really resented the fact that we were not the same skin tone, and that really sparked in me the notion that not only do I need to um, uh, discuss this subject outside of the house, but I really needed to have a conversation with my own child about
Right.
why, because I did not understand why she was feeling this way, especially having a mother. We were, I felt my family made sure that school was, it was not a question of whether you're going or not. It's like you're definitely going to college,
Hmm.
and to have books everywhere of
Right.
children that represented us, um, to
Right.
really, so that's when I realized the power of the media, the power of
Yes.
having these systems in place that still resonate, even though I was fighting against it within my own home. It still affected my home.
Wow. Wow. That's that's really interesting. And one of the things that I regularly say about talking about colorism and about understanding about colorism, and many times people don't want to understand that there are two sides to it.
Yes.
And many times, those of us that are deeply melanated, for so many of us, and I've heard so many deeply melanated women talk about it, and and I regularly say to them, you cannot discount, because my sister's light skin, you cannot discount that there's another side to this. And it's so interesting, all those things that you said, because my sister, who would many times want to argue with me that she was not light skinned, and I would have to let her know, sweetheart, you are light skinned, whether you want to be or not. You are light skinned. And it's, I think for so many of our families, we run the color gamut in most of our families. And so both of my parents were more so my skin tone, and she was light skinned. But my dad's side, my dad's mother, from my understanding, I never knew my grandmother because she passed when I was very young, but they said she was light enough to almost pass, my dad's mother. So, I've got cousins there are some deeply melanated, and there are some that are beautiful light skin, color. So, I told her, sweetheart, you're light skin. I mean, just deal with it. So, but it's interesting because when I have these conversations with her, and she says, that she goes through the people ask her, what is she? And she's like, what do you mean, what am I?
Yes.
And she said she asked one of her coworkers, who happens to be Liberian, she asked her, why are people always asking me what I am? And she said, because of your skin tone and your hair.
Yes.
They don't really necessarily connect you with being Black, African American. So, and so I think that it's very important that, and I so appreciate you for being transparent about that. And we have to understand that it's not just, even though colorism in its very definition talks about discrimination against deeply melanated people, we have to understand that our sisters and brothers on the other side of that also deal with the stigmatism that comes behind what we're calling colorism and this ism, as it is with every other ism, again, that it's about division. But we have to understand that there is another side of this, and it's not about pitting us against each other, but it's about us coming together and talking and truly understanding it.
And that's the true point, truly understanding where this is rooted and why do we have these names for each other? High yellow, red bone, where and there's others, as you see on social media, the hashtag light skin, dark skin. It's really mind blowing at times. During your conversation, I was just laughing when you were talking about your sister, having to let her know that I actually had. So this has affected me so much, not just with the tanning salons, but when the emojis came out, when you could actually change the skin tone of your emojis, I was so happy about that. But then my friends told me I had to change the color of my emojis. They're like, girl, that is not right. What are you? What do you see when you look in the mirror? I'm like, I am not that light. So I just that's so why we need to have these conversations.
Yes.
I don't know if Facebook, Google, or any of the media giants, if they even had people of color when they were putting out these emojis. I think we had to fight to get the different skin tones and to even have that representation. So that was just recent. It wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Wonderfully made, the color of beautiful, beautiful. God made me beautiful. Yeah, I am so beautiful. I am so beautiful. When you look at me, what do you see? The color of beautiful. So beautiful. When you walk my way, what do you say? The color of beautiful. God made me beautiful. So beautiful. My dark skin, my full lips, my brown eyes, my round hips, beautiful, beautiful, yeah. Ebony, mahogany, sun-kissed, just look at me, I am so beautiful.
You're what a beauty to behold, you're a natural queen. Pretty dark and lovely with a glowy skin. Definitely you are credit to the whole black race. What a strong black woman with a beautiful face. Yeah, I'm loving the way you believe in yourself and how you keep on going till you make it all by yourself. Yeah, your kindness misunderstood for weakness. Your silence is gold to me, I'm speechless. I love the way your black woman control your frustrations. They never believe in hate or divisions. A black woman ever willing to take a chance to make it work even when she don't understand. She's black, she's beautiful and proud about it. She's one of a kind, no doubt about it. The beauty of a black woman, yeah. Beauty of a black woman, yeah.
I am so beautiful.